Daniel Wolf has made a really interesting presentation, I think. So Daniel, please go ahead and show us your presentation.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon from Czechia. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, it's okay. Go ahead, Dan.
Great. So I have to share my screen. Sorry, I have some troubles sharing my screen. So let's do it like that. Okay.
Some orange on there. Yeah, it's okay now.
Great. So once more, hello everyone. My name is Daniel Wolf, and I volunteered from the members of Hudo Commission Sprint Group to lead this session, how to master the level complexity of sprint legs. There were some voices recently that some sprints this season were too easy. Another day, athletes are complaining it was too complex, too difficult to choose the proper variant in high speed during the race. So that's the answer for the question why this presentation. Because as I said, we see quite big differences in how complex route choices and navigation we see in various sprint events. So we would like to see if we, as SCAs, as course setters, can be aligned about what level of complexity we find appropriate for the various sprint formats. Today, I will cover mainly the individual sprint, not the knockout sprint, and not and the partly the sprint relay if we have a time for that, because we are a little bit behind the schedule. So basically, that's it. And now the main question: how to evaluate the leg complexity? And as always in orienteering, there are many factors that influence the complexity in deciding for the best route choice. It can be, for example, number of possible route choice variants. Are 2 variants too little? If we have a leg with 8 variants, can it be even evaluated by the athlete? And that's the question. Of course, we have now not only the number of possible route choices, but the route choices that are not easy to identify, route choices with a significant difference in climb and variation in a number of decision points. Also, length of the leg itself is very crucial for its complexity. And the complexity is not only in finding and deciding the best route choice, but also in executing the navigation when the route choice is already decided. So the larger number of decision points, the larger is, of course, the complexity. We have to count with number of turns, terrain complexity like multi-levels and other aspects. And of course, as we will see in some of the examples, we have to always count with the surface, the stairs, etc. Designing a good sprint leg is always about a balancing right on the edge, I would say. It's the edge between what is still fair and readable at a high speed and what's already over the line, over the edge, where a runner can't properly evaluate all the options and cross that line, and it turns into a lottery where luck plays a major role, and that's something we really don't want to. But if you stay too far from this edge, the leg becomes too simple and the best choice is always obvious. And if you cross it, the race is no longer fair. So to me, it is all like hitting the perfect takeoff in a long jump. The course setter's goal must always be to get as close to that line as possible, but never cross it. And that's the adrenaline I love on sprint distance course planning. And to make it even trickier, that edge, that line shifts significantly depending on the competition level or competitors level. It will be very different if you set a course for a regional competition and on the walk, for example. And also it is influenced by the role of athletes' theoretical preparations. We saw many legs recently, which were for us extremely difficult to find the best route choices when checking it just at a GPS tracking or in TV. But it was okay for the athletes because they knew exactly where the gates are and where the stairs are, and they were really well prepared for that. And were able to decide quickly. So that's another aspect we always have to consider, as Fabian showed us in a previous presentation. That was a very good example of that. So now we'll start with a sprint with an interval start, and I think this is exactly the type of competition where we can place the most complex legs, definitely more complex than for mass start races and even for the knockout sprint, because athletes are less stressed, let's say, in individual sprint, and can better plan the route choices. So now let's have some action. And practically, I wanted to make this presentation more interactive via some online tool like Mentimeter or Slido or something like that. So you can join me and vote and be part of the presentation. Unfortunately, there was planned to be around 100 participants, and it would be a little bit complicated, and all these tools are paid for such an audience. So, and we have just, I don't know, 25 minutes. So therefore, I have decided that we will make it in a good old school way, a little bit old school way. So now I'll ask you to turn on your cameras, of course, if you want to. I know it's about the GDPR and etc. But if you want to, it's a voluntary activity. So I would be happy if you join me in this presentation and if you turn on the camera. And let's see if Teams can handle this. I hope yes. If we will start to have some issues with the internet connection or with Teams, we will let you know when we step out from this idea. But what we will do, I will show you a leg from the sprint competition, and I'll give you some seconds to be an athlete and to find the route choices. And your task is not to find the shortest route choice, but to evaluate if you find it easy to discover the correct route choices or difficult or even over the edge. And please mark this by showing your fingers. One finger, and please not the middle one, means very simple. Two fingers, moderate, but still easy to choose the variants and still easy to compare the variants. Three is very demanding, but still fair to decide the variants. Number four, it's right on the edge. Still considered as okay, but it's really on the edge that it can be easier. It can start to be a lottery very soon. And number five, it's simply too much. It means it's a lottery. There a luck plays quite a big role, and we don't want it. So this is your task, and so I will be happy if you join me in this. Of course, as I said, it's voluntary. So let's check this out and let's start. Well, let's have an example. This is a famous so-called Labyrinth World Cup in Imatra back in 2014. So it's more than 10 years ago. And at that time, more than 10 years ago, this was considered as too tricky by many athletes. But yeah, at that time, they were simply not ready for such a massive usage of artificial fences. But now, please focus on leg 7 to 8. And my question is, how would you evaluate it from nowadays perspective? So, yeah, I already see some fingers up. So I see 4, I see 5, 4, again 5. Super great. Thanks for joining. Yeah, great. So I'll show you the variants. I know it's hard for you to discover it via the monitor, but yes, to me it's still 5. And to evaluate these examples I'll show you, I kindly asked 2 elite athletes, the World Cup and World Games medalists Wojtejh Kral and Denisa Kralova, to help me with this. And they ran most of the races, or at least followed most of the races, so we will have an examples from. And we all 3 evaluated the legs, and final mark is an average of our opinions. So this is not just my opinion. This is somehow based also on elite runners. Of course, it's still our opinion. And I always edit some comments from myself and the athletes, so you can read it. So back to Imatra, we all agreed on 5 because of not very well visible artificial barriers and fences. But as Wojtejh said, probably around 4. So still somehow okay when drawn according to 2 days practice with clear purple clear purple barriers and very visible artificial barriers. But it's definitely on the edge 4 to 5 even still today. So let's go further. And the next example I have is from the World Cup 2025 in Switzerland. So please focus on leg from control number 3 to 4 in the men's class, and you can vote. Okay, I see 3, 4, 3, 2, 3. Yeah, so we have quite a good difference. 4, 3. Yeah, great. I'll show you. There were basically three options plus one let's say a mistake option, but the basic variants that were chosen by athletes, these alternatives are 3. The fastest one was the Eastern one, the red one by Tomáš Křivda. And yeah, we agreed on the number 2. That's at least this sprint was evaluated as the easier one from this year, or maybe also the last years. And this was evaluated as one of the good legs of this sprint. And the number 2 and not 1 is because of added element of a climb and stairs on that leg. So let's have another example. And we had a great presentation from Pascal about EOC 25 sprint distance. So I also picked one leg from this race, men's course, and I am happy to see your opinion on the leg from control number 13 to 14. So what do you say about this leg? I already see number 4, again number 4, 3, 3, 4. I see also 1, 5, 3, number 3, again number 5. Thank you for that. I can't see everyone, but I try to follow you. So here are the length, and this was the decisive one for that sprint distance, that's for sure. And there was quite a big difference in length, and in the end also there was a difference in time as well, as I will show you. The red variants shows to be significantly slower. I mean the left one around controls 16 and 17, and many athletes got trapped there. But we evaluated this as number 3. You can read some comments. I think the problem here was that the longest variants attract the runners because it looks easy. You ran almost straight at the beginning, and as Wojtejh said, for me it was pretty hard to spot the shortest one when I first saw the course, but it was a fair route choice in my opinion, and I fully agree. The only thing what would to me maybe move it a little bit towards number 4 is that there were a huge relatively big time differences. That the longest variant, it's the green one from right, was slower or the slowest. You can see it from the comparison that all runners who picked the green except Kasper lost over 20 seconds. Kasper lost 15 seconds on that variant. So it was quite attractive because 1/3 of runners picked that variant actually, and all lost. And the losses on the green variant were mostly because the runners were trapped in the dead end, and probably the multi-level area was not the fastest one, as well as Denisa said. So
Dan,
this was a nice
couple of comments on this.
Okay.
Fabian comments that they had time to prepare between 12 and 13 for this. And Scott says that a good case where it may be easier for athletes who have spent lots of time studying in the area in advance.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Definitely, I agree. And I will show you later on another example where we will have this case where the athletes ran already before through the same area. Okay, let's move on to another example, and it's from European Youth Orienteering Championships 2025 in Czechia. And please focus on like from control number 13 to 14. So soon I will show you the possible variants, but now please vote. I see number 3, again 3, again 3, 4. Yeah, most of you are showing something between 3 or 4. These are the variants. Basically, there were three variants: the left blue option with a long downstairs, middle red option, and the right red option. And I can tell you that me personally, I evaluated as number 2. The athletes evaluate this as number 3. It's easier 3, but in case there is a multi-level structure, you always have to take more time to read it. That's the comment from Wojtejh. Comment from Denisa. I agree with easier 3 to me, but it was hard to reveal the narrow pavement on right variant. It's with the red dots, which showed in the end as the fastest, if I'm not mistaken, at least in men 18. Okay, so next example. This is the leg from European Orienteering Championships 21. It was in Switzerland in a Neuchâtel in COVID period. And it's a leg from control number 8 to control number 9. So I'll give you a moment to evaluate, and please, you can vote. I see number 5, again 5, 4. I see 1, 3, but most of you 4 to 4, 5. I'll show you the variants. Yeah, 4, 5. Thank you for that. Yep. Basically, these are the main variants. The shortest one is the green one, which was also commented from the athletes that it was very well visible. The green one as the shortest, but we evaluated this exactly as you, 4 to 5. So we agreed on number 4. In case you don't remember, this leg was not hard of evaluating the shortest route choices, but it somehow happened that on the shortest route choice, it was the green one, runners performed significantly slower pace and lost 20 seconds and more because of slower surface and other circumstances. As Wojtejh said, the problem was more in the map and in the terrain, that the shortest option looked very well visible and attractive, but there was a gravel around the castle and it felt like running in sand. It was very slow and energy consuming. And the problem here was that as a competitor, you couldn't read this from the map very well, which made the leg unfair. So this was this example of the leg right on the edge, which turned a little bit to be unfair, but not because of the leg complexity itself, but because of other circumstances, which is also always very important to consider. and it's really, really hard for the course setter to reveal all these aspects. So this is another example of what we as course setters have to focus on. Okay, great. So I'll move on, and we have another example. This is from Denmark, WOC 2022, so 1 year later. And please focus on the lag from control number 18 to 19. So this was a really great complex lag on this men's final course at WOC. So I see number 3, 4, 4, 3, 4. Yeah, someone showing something between 3 and 4. Most of you 3. I see also one number 2. Thank you. And I can tell you that we evaluated as number 3. Denisa, as a woman, she said maybe 3.5 for her. It looks tricky, but in the end it was okay, and I think it was a well-balanced leg. As you can see here, you can see the roads. The left one was obviously the fastest, but Kasper, he performed really well on the longer middle one as well. The right variants turned and showed to be slower, but the losses were, I think, okay. It was within seconds. So here you can see the comparison that the loss of the red variant was around 12 seconds, which is still okay in overall timing. Only Bergman of the top 6 from the final route choices took the best route choice from the left, just for you to know. So this was a nice example of a well-balanced lag of the level 3 as we evaluated. Very complex, but fair. Okay, thank you. And we can move on. And this example is from last year, World Cup in Italy. And my task for you is to evaluate both legs, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5, as a combination of approaching the control number 4 and leaving from control number 4 towards the control number 5. So I'll give you some seconds to study the possible route choices, and if you can please check it and evaluate. I see 3, I see 5, I see 4. We have quite a big spread of your votes. I see also number 2, 5, 2, 3. Yeah, so here we have quite a big spread. It's not very unified, let's say. Here you can see the variants. Basically, there were just 2. So it was not very complex but the task here was to be able to read it and find the way through many details. And it was the 3 to 4 was well balanced. I think both variants, the straight one and the detour one, from time point of view, were very similar. The 2 options to control number 5 were not so similar. It was slower to go around and taking the detour. And yeah, these with the athletes they agreed on number 4. As Denisa said, in my opinion, this was a bit of lottery within our team. According to the split times, it was clear that those who didn't think too much about it and didn't try to figure anything out did the best. They just went straight and trusted it would somehow go through. And those who tried to plan how to get to control number 4 and how to leave it ended up losing time. And there was a lot of black details around the control. The map was very dark here, and it was really difficult to me to read exactly where the control was and how to actually get there. So this was not more about the lag itself and the variance. It was more, the problem here was more about to read it from the map. Of course, when we have it like this, zoomed in, it's much easier than on the printed map where you have a lot of black details, and for the athletes from their comments it looked really difficult to read it. So this is another aspect I wanted to point here and to show you. Okay, I don't like to criticize other people's work, so now I'll start a friendly fire and I'll show you legs from the competitions I set or my team set. This is the women's course from Czech Cup sprint distance this September, my course. So please focus on leg from control number 2 to control number 3. And you can vote. I see 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. Another 3, another 3. Yeah. I think here you can agree each other. Here you can see the variants. Basically, there were some 5 possible variants and some other sub-variants. And the athletes evaluated this as number 3. So they agreed with you. Denisa said easier 3, all variants were clearly visible and was okay to evaluate them in the high speed. It was not in the way you hit some dead ends or walls. Wojtejh said 3, I agree, well-balanced complex leg. So this was an example of the leg which is complex but hopefully fair. Another leg from the same event, Czech Cup from this September. This is men's elite, like from 15 to 16, but women elite has a same or very similar leg. And there are approximately 8 variants and some sub-variants. So you can check it, compare, and you can vote. I see number 4, number 3, number 3, 4, 2, 3. Yeah, so again, most of you who are actually joining are around 2, 3. We see some 4. Yeah, again, the athletes agreed on a number 3. The long leg, the 3 is because the long leg is always tricky to evaluate, because if the leg is really long, but again, there were no traps and I was able to compare the route choices and choose. Wojtejh said that for him it was easier 3 because this leg was towards the end of the course and we ran through the area before in the beginning. So therefore I already knew the main structure and I was able to choose quickly. So this is what I said before at the example from Belgium, that when the runners are running through the same area twice or more times during the race, every time they run there again and again, you can set more and more complex leg because they already know the structure and it's easier for them. Here you can see the leg comparison. In the end, it was quite a well balanced. The right option was a clear loss for Jonáš Hubáček, but it was obvious. So it was his mistake, I think, because it was obvious that this is really much longer. And I think it worked well. I was thinking a long time about this, like as always, when I set the long leg, because it's always hard to balance it and not to turn it into the lottery. But I think here the runners who chose the longer variant were punished, but with reasonable time losses. Now, this is the... Sorry?
There is a comment or question. Is the task to make the legs balanced with respect to the running time? When the map shows the realistic situation in the terrain, isn't the task to make some legs to decide the results?
Yes, I think this is another aspect. I will have it in later in the presentation, the summary. It's always tricky. To me, if the variants are clearly visible and the athlete is able to choose, then you can have it a little bit misbalanced or disbalanced and let them really to choose the shortest one, and who chooses the shortest one, he can gain some time. I think it's absolutely okay, but it must be at the level that athletes are really able in high speed to compare the variants. In case you have the lag that it's somewhere between 3 and 4 in our marking system as we have today, then I believe that you have to have the all variants as balanced as possible from time point of view, because then otherwise it starts to be a little bit a lottery, because then as we saw on the leg of, for example, from Denmark, I think it was a good example of that it was well balanced. And if you are not able to compare, you just choose the first you see, still you are not punished by a huge time loss. So that's probably my answer for that. Maybe we can go back to that in the end. We are a little bit out of time, so I will just continue. And this is the great example of this question as well. And this is the leg from World Cup final in 2018 in Mladá Boleslav. It was my course. I sat, and there were not many variants, but there were huge differences in all the variants from length point of view, and I hope there will be no significant differences in time point of view, but in the end there were. But you can vote on that. I see number 5 from someone. Again, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. I see 2 from someone. Yeah, so there we have quite a big spread of votes. Yeah, for the athletes, they evaluated this as 3 or Denisa even 2, because from her perspective, this is the leg where you don't want to have. You choose from long detour or huge climb, but all variants were clearly visible. Me personally, I put 4 because as a course setter, I'm not very proud on this leg. Probably it was still okay, but to me, it was really on the edge because it ended in a bigger time difference than I expected. And in the end, the leg decided the whole race because as you can see, the fastest route choice, it was clear to me from the beginning that it will be the fastest. I wanted to have the fastest. And then I hope that the long detour from the south and the variants through the square, the north one, will be approximately the same, or at least very similar. But in the end, it was not. And who decided to go one of these upper variants, the north ones? They lost the time. Matthias Kiburz lost 22 seconds on this leg, and he lost the race here. So this is the reason why I personally don't like it. And this is the example of the leg which was not very well balanced from the time perspective, as we discussed earlier. And I think you should not decide the whole race on just one leg. And with this fresh experience from this World Cup, I was setting a few years later or months later the course for the walk final in the Terezin in 2021. And I also wanted to implement at least one longer leg, but I really did not want to decide the whole race in a bad way as it happened in Mladá Boleslav. So we spent a huge amount of time balancing this leg from 12 to 13. So what do you think about this one? 5, okay. 4, 3, 3, 5, 4 or 5. Yeah, again, we have quite a spread votes from 3 to 5 mostly, but more hands I see are showing 4 or 5. Here are the basic variants that were expected. and I'll show you it again later. And yeah, we agreed on 4. Wojtejh said 4 to 5. This part of the course in Fortress almost boiled my brain. He said that he was not able to really quickly decide. And Denisa said that she agrees the leg itself might not have been the hardest, but in the overall context of the race, where we were served the tough puzzle one after another, it was really demanding to figure it out, and it started to lean a bit towards luck and coincidence. But as you can see on the left picture in the men's class, the leg itself, I believe, worked really well because the differences are within 4 seconds on all variants. So I think it was well balanced. As you can see on the right picture, it was not the case in women's race. They had the same leg, and Tuve managed to discover the route choice that really no one expected, I can tell you, and she lost 51 seconds on this one. But in case, this case, I believe it's a failure of the competitor and not because I hope the leg was, well balanced. But as Wojtejh said, in the whole context of the whole race, there were one leg after another hard, difficult like this, then it was really hard for the athletes to focus all the time. Okay, I am now going towards the end because I know that we are a little bit behind the schedule. 2 examples I wanted to show you. These are a little bit back from the history, 2018. This is not my course anymore. This is an example we had at a Czech Cup and World Ranking event in Pilsen in 2018. And this is before current ISPROM or map specification with multi-levels was introduced. This was before the ISPROM with multi-levels was introduced. And this was one of the most discussed sprint event on our national level ever. So please focus on lag from number 2 to 3. I'm sorry, the map is in an old specification, but it is as it was at that time. I see 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. Clear 5 from Roman. Thanks. Yeah, I will not make it any longer. The athletes, they both ran it. Me personally, I also ran the race. We all agreed on 5 because simply they were not evaluated in the high speed. This was for many athletes extremely tricky to read it from the map at that time. Today, in current ISPROM with multi-level structures, I think it will be slightly better, but still very tricky because there was actually the uncrossable barrier in 2 levels, and in one level there was an uncrossable barrier, and in the lower level you were able to run through. I think this is still in current map specification. You are not able to draw this. And the most tricky part was that the fastest option, you had to start to the exactly opposite direction than the direction of the leg and to the south, which is always for the runners extremely hard to evaluate, that you must go exactly to the opposite direction than the direction of the leg. And I think 80% of athletes took the middle option towards the staircase to the bridge close to the river, but they all were trapped here because there was this fence which was dividing the bridge to the 2 halves, and then you have to take a long detour around towards the control. Last example from this is from the same race, but this is men's elite, and this is first leg where men's elite were met, or where they met this bridge multi-level structure on the longest leg to the 5th control. And my question is, would you be able to evaluate in high speed which one is the shortest and fastest? And you can vote. I can see some 4, 5, 5, 4, 5. Can show you the actual length. The way shortest variants were the one which are approaching the bridge from south again. So you had to go to the south end of the bridge and then just choose the right side of the fence on the bridge. If you go for the detour in the north, it was clear trap because it's almost 200 meters longer. And again, the athletes agreed on number 5 because at that time they were not able really to evaluate, and it was a little bit, or not little bit, this was a coincidence or luck if you choose the proper variant, and the time losses here were really huge. I can tell you that Miloš Nikodým, he won this leg by 8 seconds on purple, but the third leg time was 15 seconds slower, and other over 20 seconds, and who chose the northern detour, he was 30 seconds slower and more. So I know this is old. It is old example, but this course since that time was shown at many seminars in Czechia as the one over the edge at that time, and I still think it's valid that this was over the edge, and this should not be in a sprint event. Okay, we have something about the sprint relay as well, where the main thing is basically that for the sprint relay you can implement much easier route choices, which are around like number 1 or 2, and still it can be interesting because there are also another aspects like the mass start and the pressure, big pressure of the group. But I will not let you evaluate this anymore because we ran out of time. So I will just show you, and I will wrap up the presentation. Yeah, this was one example where it was a little bit on 4, let's say 4 to 5 on a sprint relay, where only 3 runners from the whole starting field discovered the optimal variant for their forking. It's a WOC 2021. But back to the question why we had this presentation. I'm certainly not giving you the exact answer, what's okay and what's too much. The aim was to let you think about it, to raise this question, and we as SEAs and course planners have to somehow feel it, and we have to deal with it. And from our experience, from all the examples we saw within last years, and I think it's very important to cooperate in a team, discuss the legs, evaluate them. We should raise the questions. We should be critical to ourselves, to our course setters, and then we can definitely hit the takeoff line without crossing it and create a great sprint courses. So can we now answer the question how to evaluate the leg complexity? These are some points you have to always consider. As I said in the beginning, the number of possible main route choice variants, as we saw in the examples, in case you have 2 to 3 well visible variants, is usually easy to evaluate for the competitor. If you have 4 to 6 on a longer leg, and the longer the leg is, then it's more complex for the athletes. And then I think it should be well balanced from time perspective. So it's not turned into the part that it's the luck or coincidence plays its role. And you should be careful that the route choices that are not easy to identify, it's usually those where the optimal route choice starts exactly opposite direction compared to the leg direction. Both athletes said to me that this is the most difficult for them to evaluate usually. And also when you implement a lot of dead ends and similar traps on the road, athletes can't. It's the case like the Imatra case when the athlete can't find the road because of hitting into the barriers everywhere on every possible route choice. It's also not good. And another remark regarding the no shuttle case, it must be well visible from the map where an athlete can lose the time. So in the end, I summarized some of my personal recommendations based on my experience. I would advise do not aim for hitting level 4 at all the legs on your course, like I did it in 2021 in Terezin. Much better is to create a great mixture of level 2 and 3 legs with maybe one level 4 leg, and always include several complex legs with 3 or more variants into the course, because otherwise it will be considered as too easy. And if you decide to include a long leg with multiple options, make sure all variants are well balanced. In case you want to have a misbalanced leg, like we discussed during the presentation, the variants must be easier to read and comparable for the athletes in high speed. And the race should never be decided by a single leg, as the Mladá Boleslav case. It should be about consistent performance through the whole course. And in my opinion, you should avoid unnecessary dead ends and traps, as we saw, for example, last year in Edinburgh. Yes, it might make the course somehow trickier, but usually it turns into a trap, and the athletes, as I felt from their comments, they don't like it. And please always ensure that all road choices are clearly visible among barriers and other details that share, and be sure that it's clear from the map where runners might lose time, like stairs, worse surface, etc. And that's it. So thanks a lot, and I'm looking forward to other great sprint events in the future. I'm sorry it was a little bit late, or I'm a little bit late, but I hope it's still okay. So thanks, and back to you, Helge.
Couple of comments here on the chat there. Kel commented the Imatra case that he doesn't like it because of they tend up to be in unexpected places. And Fabian commented the Italy number 4 that teams prepared to look at the YouTube movies of getting out from the caves in around that control there. And then Kel again comments that there are the discussions in the Facebook mappers group that usually very often about the sprint maps and after the introduction of the multi-level symbols. So be very, very careful to include the use of multi-level structures in route choices. Roman comments that it's okay to map the multi-level. It's more about the course setter responsibility to not use multi-level on courses. Depends on the level of competition. Is it world level, national or regional, because of the runner's level and preparation for the competition. So those were the comments, and I don't see any raised hands here. Thanks, Daniel. And back to you, Helge.
Yes, I'd also like to say thanks a lot, Daniel, for really interesting, good